You want to go
I'll give
there?
my top three, excluding Harlan Barnett. Let's say Coach Barnett is not part of the discussion, but my top three would be Lance Leopold from Kansas.
Okay.
Seeing him turn programs around and what he did with Rock Chalk. Number two, Brian Hartline
Oh,
at Ohio State.
offense coordinator, receiver specialist.
But the thing with Brian that scares me is I don't think he'll be here long enough, because as soon as something happens to Ryan Day, him and Luke Fickle will be in a knife fight in the parking lot in Columbus to see who gets that job. So he's there, and then obviously old boy from Duke. Those are the top three there, because Lance Leopold, he's my top one there, because he turned a lot of programs around. What he did, even at University of Buffalo, went there, turned that program around, put them, on the map in the MAC conference, won a MAC championship, took them to a bowl game, then went to Kansas and did a tremendous job there. So those are the three there. And then, like I said, obviously the guy from Duke turned that Duke program around. So, and I think they have some prowess in the recruiting world as well.
Yeah, I think my three, I guess if we're going to do top threes.
Yeah, I'm not in that. Go ahead, do it. Let me hear your stuff. Let's break it down.
You mentioned the Duke coach, Mike Elko. I think he makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you can, this isn't Duke basketball. Like, if you can win at Duke in football, like you're a good coach. Like, and then
did he win 9 games last year?
Yeah, and he's got them in the top 20. So, like, for them to be in the top 20 is absolutely amazing at a program like that, because not only do they have no real funding for football, but the academic standards at that school, that's one of the few schools that hold those high for their places. Like everybody says they do, but Duke is one. So I go Mike Elko, because he's also had the time with Jimbo, so he's recruited nationally at that top Power 5 level too, so he's got that part with him. Sean Lewis, offensive coordinator at Colorado. He's got ties to the Midwest because of being at Kent State. And Kent State, like if you can win a MAC championship with the funding they don't have there, like, you're a good coach. And like, you give him a lot of credit, because you look at him where he sat there. He was at Kent State, and he didn't get the Cincinnati job. And he's like, well, this is telling me I can't get where I'm trying to get. So he pivoted and went over to Colorado, and now he's probably the hottest offense coordinator out there. He's always had great offenses. So, and I think how college football is officiated right now, I think Michigan State would be very wise to find a high-powered offense like you see at Washington and some of those other schools, just because, they're letting the guys run pick plays and all of that stuff, and everything is dictated to scoring points. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Plus, from a recruiting end, he's been around Deion. So, he's going to be a hot name going throughout this year, because all of these top recruits are going to be heading to Colorado to see the Deion show. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And then I guess the other one, Charles Huff, like, he was at Alabama and Penn State, like, probably one of the most elite recruiters in the country. Like there's a lot of guys that are really good recruiters, and like even Mel Tucker, we did that. He puts Mel Tucker to shame in recruiting, which is hard to do because Mel Tucker is a great recruiter. But if you look at the recruits he landed at Penn State as the primary recruiter, the recruits he landed at Alabama as the primary recruiter, going to Marshall as a head coach and beating Notre Dame at Notre Dame last year, and I think year 2 at the program as the head coach. I think he's got the highest ceiling. Young guy, where associate coach for Nick Saban at 36 years old. Or 34, 36 years old, somewhere in that range. So I think he gives you the highest ceiling, where I think you look at his offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators, he brings in really good guys on the staff that end up getting poached from bigger schools. So that's something you want to see, is that your guys are leveling up. So I think he checks a lot of the boxes too. And he kind of gives you some of the same things you had with Mel here, as far as that national brand and knowing how to recruit. But maybe he's maybe better at finding those coordinators that are coveted all over the country and that you got to hold on to. So he would be an interesting name for me too if they went in that direction. But like I've said a bunch of times, I think it's fluid because you're so early into the season and you're probably not getting a guy like a Nick Saban, a PJ Fleck, all those guys that are established. Like their floor is what their floor is. Like, so I think there's a lot of wiggle room for coaches over this next month coaching, but those are the three that are sticking out to me right now.
Huff, by the way, he's actually 40 years old, not 34.
Now 40 now?
Yeah, he done.
But when he was with Saban, though.
Yeah,
when he was with Saban, though, it's like 34, I think, or 36 as the associate head coach. But Nick, to give it the keys over that quickly is a pretty big deal. And like you said, like he's the guy that he surrounds his staff with heavy recruiters, which I think that's honestly what the big debate is now. Is it's like what's more important, having the elite recruiters all throughout that staff, or that coach that can really do the X's and O's? Because I mean, for me, I feel like the coaching, the great coaching can get you so far, but can it get you over the hump because the Big Ten is tough now. Like it's always tough, but now you're going to add, with Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, some of those schools, but now you're adding USC and Oregon. Washington's got that offense that's absolutely electric. So it's going to be even tougher to win the Big Ten. So do you get a guy that can get you on the cusp, or do you go maybe swing for the fences and get a guy that can get the same type of talent that they're getting at those schools that I just mentioned?